Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this portion of tonight's meeting, Public Works Recreation Arena Committee Agenda. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta. Any change in order of items on the agenda? Seeing none. Any disclosure of peculiar interest or conflict of interest? Seeing none. There are no appointments. There are no consent agenda items. So we'll move on to communications. Item PW 27-18, West Niagara Agricultural Society, Anita Philpott, Secretary Treasurer, request for designation of 2018 West Niagara Fair as a community festival. The recommendation that the correspondence of Anita Philpott, Secretary Treasurer of the West Niagara Agricultural Society dated May 24th, 2018, requesting that the 2018 West Niagara Fair be designated as a community festival in order to obtain a special events permit from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission be received, and that Council of the Corporation of the Township of West Lincoln hereby designate the 2018 West Niagara Fair as a community festival of municipal significance in accordance with the Liquor License Act of Ontario and Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, which festivals is to be held from Thursday, September 6th, and including Sunday, September 9th, 2018, at the West Niagara Agricultural Center, 7402 Mud Street, Grassy. I need a mover. Councillor Chichuk, Councillor Bell. Comments or questions? Mayor Joyner?
I will be supporting this. We've done this in the past, and it helps out the fair immensely with revenue. So I'm in support. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Chichuk?
I guess, other than to say that I think that this council has always been want of supporting the West Lincoln Fair, and since they've moved to their new location, they've been working very hard to make themselves part of the community and continue to offer support by allowing many groups to use their facilities. So this has always been an important part of their operations, so I'm glad to hear that others are going to support this, as will I.
Thank you, Councillor Chichuk. Seeing any other questions or comments, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that carries. Moving on to staff reports, item PW 28-18, Director of Public Works and Engineering, Brent Julian, recommendation report RFD PW 16, 2018, Public Works severance, application condition request policy review, road widening dedication, recommendation that report RFD PW 16, 2018 regarding Public Works severance application, condition request policy review, road widening dedication dated June 18, 2018 be received, and that a revised policy POL PW-1-18 found as attachment B to this report be approved, and that POL PW-1-04 be repealed effective April 1st, 2018, and that the following approval of POL PW-1-18 qualifying applications effective from April 1st, 2018 be retroactive reimbursed from the difference between the old and revised policy contribution dates, and that the binder fees authorized under bylaw 2002-115 be amended to provide for these fees. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Ganang, Councillor Chichuk, comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that carries. Moving on to other business, item PW 29-18, West Lincoln Public Library Board. It reads the minutes of the May 10th, 2018. The recommendation that the West Lincoln Public Library Board minutes of the meeting held on May 10th, 2018 be hereby received for information. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Bosma, Mayor Joyner, comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Item number 9B, item PW 30-18, Director of Public Works and Engineering, Mr. Brent Julian. We have a MERS update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to you and through you, Mr. Chair, to the members of the committee. My monthly MERS update. The construction is still progressing satisfactorily. Everybody's working hard as we proceed to the opening of the library section of the building. The floor has now been poured for the library, the wellness gymnasium room, and the front foyer. Once the floors are cured, the polishing of the concrete floors will be done, which will take a couple of weeks. Once the concrete is cured and polished, it will then permit the contractor to continue with the construction of the interior walls. The arena slab pour is expected for mid-August. We're still working out the date. Before that comes, there will probably be a request for a noise bylaw exemption, just to allow them to work once they start the pour. It's a rather big pour, and that'll probably be next month that we'll be coming for that. As I reported last month, the second floor walking track had the precast concrete flooring installed on the west side of the building. The crews are now working on preparation for the cast-in-place flooring on the east side of the walking track. Currently, the rebar is being assembled for the flooring, and the concrete pour is scheduled for sometime between July and August. The contractor is now working on areas of the new parking lot and is currently installing catch basins to connect to the storm system, as well as setting out the layout for the concrete curb works this week in preparation for the pouring of the concrete curbs. With the exception of a small connecting length on the east end of the property, the new sidewalks have been poured at the north end of the property. This is a sidewalk that will connect eventually Wesley Drive to Swayze Court and will enable access to the outdoor play features once they are completed. The ice plant is now delivered and it's in its place, although not hooked up, but that's rather exciting for us. Much of the earthworks stored on site are being removed or used on site. There will be later and will be stored on site for grading and backfilling. In order to make space for the outdoor play features where the current pile is, the remainder of the earth will be stored in the northeast end of the property, which is just north of Swayze Court, and this is on the eastern end of the northern ball diamond, but outside of the playing area. Our facility supervisor has reviewed the site and has confirmed that this will not affect those using the ball diamond. Again, that is only a temporary spot, and the area will be restored if required once the earthworks are repurposed on site. Excuse me. As also reported last month, delays due to weather, delivery of doors and hardware was revised the schedule of the library opening to August. Some of the hardware is expected to arrive by the end of June. Doors are expected to arrive by mid-July. And once this is delivered, there's still the task of installing these items and then connecting hardware such as the barrier-free openers to the alarm systems that are attached to those doors. The contractor is working hard to ensure that all these works will take place in a timely fashion. Working in tandem with these items, working in tandem will be other items such as interior glassworks, finishes, and painting. The occupancy process will commence in August with a target opening of late August. Splash pad and playground are scheduled to commence construction this week. The current completion targets for these features is July 9th for the playground and July 23rd for the splash pad. Skateboard park construction is progressing smoothly. The railings have been installed and the site is excavated in preparation for the concrete pours. You can start to see the parks taking shape with the bowls and the half pipes and the various features on the site. And the current completion target for the skateboard park is July 23rd. And again, those are pending weather, but the schedule looks good. Last month, I noted that the tender submissions had been received for appliances, concession stand, sound equipment, and security systems. Purchase orders have since been issued by Ball Construction to get these items on order. Installation of phone lines have been pulled to the building. The final installation of this will be completed once the utility room wall is completed. This is expected to take place in the next 2 weeks. Fiber optic data lines are also expected to be pulled to the building from the street in about 2 weeks' time. And finally, our capital campaign team has been working hard, and their efforts have been showing good results. The campaign team has enlisted the local Kiwanis chapter to assist with the selling of seats and benches. This teamwork is fostering good community spirits and is seen as a very positive experience as we work towards our goal. And we hope to have some great announcement for you in the future. And that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Move on to, any comments or questions for this update? Move on to Vanessa. Thank you for staying with us. Item PW 3118, Welland Library and Hall Project update.
So through you, Mr. Chair, to members of committee, I'm happy to let council know that work at Wellandport Library continues to go well and the project remains on budget. We're continuing to work on all the finishing details. As anyone driving by may have noticed, the exterior of the building has been painted to better match the new addition. Grass seed was put down and on a schedule to be watered, and the garden was planted. There was another meeting with the architect last week to go over the deficiencies that still have to be corrected as part of some of the finishing work. So a sidewalk has to be repaired because there was an error when mapping out the grading, and this has to be completed before we can actually put down the asphalt. There's also a concrete ring in the Indigenous Healing Garden that has to be replaced. So the theme of the garden is based on the 28-day moon cycle, and the design indicated that the ring was to be cut into 28 portions, and then everything else in the garden, the different quadrants, were to follow this theme. When the ring was being installed, the installation team instead cut it into 20 sections. And because the engraving and plantings and everything were based on that, again, has to be replaced, and that will be done this week. I also wanted to let council know that I'll be presenting next month at a conference. It's the annual Institute on the Library's Place, and it's based on the work being done at Wellandport, and particularly the Indigenous Garden. I've asked the landscape architect who's involved in the planning of the garden to co-present with us, and she will be doing so. And it's an international conference taking place in Toronto, so it will be really great exposure for some of the work that's being done in West Lincoln. In terms of the furnishings, the shelving is almost finished being installed, so it started last week. And staff are on site today to start organizing the books and seeing where we want to put things. And so this morning, actually, Public Works staff was out in the humid weather moving all the boxes of books from storage to the library. And it always amazes me, the staff that does this in Public Works, that, I mean, they work so hard, get the job done so quickly, and are always like pleasant about it. And so, yeah, they have been so helpful for all of this. Other furniture is set to be on site at the end of June, the start of July. We hope to be in the space in the next few weeks. And finally, we're looking at an official grand opening date of Monday, July 23rd at 11 a.m. And we'll be sending invitations shortly.
Excellent. Thank you for that update, Mrs. Holm. Any other questions for Mrs. CAO? CEO? Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll move on to item PW 32-18. I'll move from my left. Many members of council. Any other business of an informative nature? Councillor Rayner? Councillor Bell? Councillor Chichuk? Councillor Banan?
Of course. I could have just made a comment further to Vanessa's report, but I did go out. We had a library board meeting last Thursday morning, and Vanessa updated us on what was happening. So we did a little drive out in the afternoon, and I think it's worth the drive-by for anybody who hasn't been well in Port Way in the last little while. The difference that the paint job has made to the look of that part of the facility in conjunction with the new library is absolutely fantastic. It just changes the whole look of the building. And so then we happened to be there, my husband and I, about the same time that Vanessa arrived for a meeting. And so we got just inside the front doors to have a little peek in. And again, what was a very dark, dreary, old, stuffy library facility is now open and airy and just an absolute world of difference. So I think when you actually do come for the grand opening, you will all be very pleasantly surprised at the change in Wellandport.
Excellent.
And I publicly would like to thank Vanessa for all her hard work on this, to be looking at 2 libraries at the same time and attending all the meetings and having input to things and not losing sight of the details and really carefully checking the details, and it has been an amazing job. So thank you to Vanessa
Actually,
as well.
3 libraries. Look at Keister as well, right? She's doing that as well, yeah. Councilor Bosma? Mr. Mayor? I just have one. I need to inquire to Mr. Director. A couple meetings ago, there's been some presentations of some viable options of maintaining some of our roads and stuff like that. I just wanted to know where we're kind of at with that, if you could kind of give us an update on that if possible.
Sure, Mr. Chair, and through you to the committee. It's interesting because we have had a lot of discussions at the senior management meetings of late regarding asset management and all of our infrastructure and the needs. And in reviewing that, our road needs study has really turned out to be the tool to use. If you'll recall, in December last year, the province brought in Ontario Regulation 588, which was the requirement for all municipalities to develop and put in place an asset management plan, and that all these municipalities have to assess all their core assets. That would be the roads, water, wastewater, bridges, storm systems, through a condition assessment. This is a mandatory requirement under the legislation, and this is exactly what our road needs study is. So we believe we're on the correct path with in reviewing our capital plan. It's a way of assessing and using more scientific tools of the day to help prioritize our works. As an example, we came across under our 2017 road, the wind rehab where we're rehabilitating South Chippewa. We have since discovered that entire road was built on sand, so there is no base, and that's quite a stretch, and this is the old way of doing things. We cannot pulverize that road because it'll just, you understand, I know there's no base and it'll suck it up, and that's probably why that road is falling apart as bad as it is. So we're looking at other options with cold in place recycled asphalt overlays and sealing it up that way, and that should give it the stability. But I use that as an example because that was the non-scientific way I would suggest, and looking at the requirements of the asset management plan and the road needs study, I do believe that we are on the correct course with our current capital plan. I think should we go down the road, if council wants to start converting roads, that type of thing, it will work very much against meeting the requirements of the asset management plan.
Great, thank you for that update, Mr. Julian. Seeing no other comments, questions, I'll move on to any new business. Obviously, a motion is required, but we'll move on into confidential matters. I'll read them out. Item PW 33-18, Director of Public Works, Mr. Brent Julian, personal matter, identifiable individuals, and contractual with other negotiations or of persons, group or persons or organizations. Report RFD PW-17, 2018, donor name approvals. Applicable closed session examples, personal matters of identifiable individuals include municipal or local board employees, trade secret, scientific, technical, commercial, financial, of labor relations information supplied by the Confidence Municipality or of local boards, which is disclosed, could reasonably be accepted but prejudice significance, competitive position, and interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person's group or person's organization. Recommendation that our report RFD PW 2017-2018 donor naming approvals dated June 18, 2018 be received, and that council approve the donation naming opportunities for various features of the library and multi-use recreational facility as outlined in this report. So we are going to be heading, oh, sorry, I need a mover to head into close, sorry.
Would you mind if I read out the confidential matters, because from the Administration Finance and Committee agenda, because we will be dealing with that too as well in closed session. So either
Okay.
you can read it out or I'll read it out.
Okay, as sorry, according to my recommendation from the clerk that I was going to just do this and then
Go back into admin.
go back into admin. I think she wanted to go back into admin.
I would like to finish admin.
I
like,
see.
So I'd rather deal with Public Works. and
Okay,
then
Madam Clerk, that's fine.
We'll finish
That's fair.
that and then
Yeah.
go back into
Yeah.
admin.
So at this moment, I'd like a mover and a seconder to go into confidential, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Ganan. And I will thank everyone for coming out. We'll call the meeting at 8, sorry. All those in favor, sorry, yeah. And that carries. We are now in closed session. Thank you,
And I'm
Councillor.
just shutting things down.